I'm on a podcast with h2oluvin, and today she is going to talk about what kind of got her into content creation and uh, kind of just how she got into it. So, do you want to start with an introduction of yourself?
Sure. My name is h2oluvin or Ariel. Usually, most people call me by my government name at this point, but that is still my username. I am a dance teacher. I am a mom. I am a wife. I am a variety streamer. I started off with just COD, but we've definitely branched out more into like my original roots of gaming. So yeah, that's kind of the general spiel about me.
Mhm. First things first. What brought you into the world of content creation, and how did you become a creator rather than just a watcher?
Sure. So I actually was new to online gaming, period, until a few years ago. I'd always played like story-based games where it wasn't multiplayer, it wasn't online. And I started for the first time playing Blackout on Black Ops 4, which was like a battle royale. So for the very first time, I did online gaming and I was able to meet people doing that. And so in the midst of the pandemic is when I really, of course, like many, started gaming and getting to socialize with people in that way since we couldn't do it otherwise. Um, and I watched I had a few friends that streamed, and so I was like, "What is this thing?" It took me a long time to like wrap my mind around it because I didn't even have a computer. So, like, I would always just watch via mobile. I had me and technology, we just didn't mix, so I had a lot to learn. Um, and yeah, I just watched them, I supported them, and I would have so many people say, you should stream," and I just said no for 8 months. I said no.
Jeez, 8 months.
Because I was just like, "No, I'm no good at the game." I really was. I'm no good at the game. Because it was my first person shooter as well. So I was like, I see my friends that are fantastic at the game playing and them help building successful communities, but like that can't be me. I'm just gonna happily support. But eventually I did get peer pressured, but to the degree that I still was embarrassed to create content. I didn't tell anybody about me streaming for the first time. I confided in one friend. She encouraged me to open a Twitter and she taught me like how to go live from my PS4 with no camera. And I did that, but I didn't tell anybody I was doing it. So I was shocked because I ended up holding, I think it was like 10 viewers and hit the whatever I needed to be affiliated
Affiliate,
within the
yeah,
first stream, which was crazy because
that's
again, I
wild.
didn't tell anybody. So it was like
That's
super
insane.
secretive. So secretive to I didn't even tell my family. Like my brothers who are so heavily involved in my content now didn't
Yeah,
learn until I started in August. It was Thanksgiving that I finally
jeez.
told them that I was doing that, and I had over 1,000 followers at that point. Like, it had kinda blown up, so that's kinda how I got into it, but it was like I didn't want to. It wasn't like a, "Oh, I wanna stream, I wanna attack this." It was like, "Okay, fine, I'll do it, but I'm not gonna tell anybody about it," and then it just kinda happened, and I'm very grateful.
You are actually one of the first you are one of the first people that didn't start in high school that I've talked to on this podcast. Because everybody else that, I've talked to so far, they started in high school at some degree making content and, like, doing stuff like that, so it's kind of cool to kind of see the different perspectives of it.
Absolutely.
I started in around 2020-ish too, um, because it was the only way to really get my mind off of what had happened, like in November 2019 and February of 2020. My grandfather and my dad passed away within 3 months of each other. So that was kind of, I just sat in my room 90% of the time
Yeah,
and I just kind of like tried to cope, but it didn't work. So
sure.
I'm here. But um yeah, that's actually kind of cool because you don't really get to see a lot of people know, like, a lot of people started content in COVID era because, like, why not?
Yep.
TikTok was a huge thing. Everybody was in their houses. It was really the only way to really get socially interactive in any way at the time. So it made sense to do it. It definitely made sense.
Absolutely.
Uh, so you kind of talked before about it, but how you said you were a variety streamer. How do you get into making content as variety instead of just like being a one trick pony in some cases?
Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely started with Blackout, and the only reason why I actually could branch out was because that kind of blew up to the point where I did get a PC, in order to, like, improve my streams because, yeah, I was for 3 months, I was only on my PlayStation streaming from that. So once I did that, I was like, wait, I can change up what I'm playing," and I just really wanted to play Breath of the Wild again. Because that was my roots of gaming was, like, a lot of Zelda, a lot of horror, and I was like, "Well, what if I just change things up?" And I gradually did. Blackout started getting very toxic, and it was really being
Like
difficult for me
like any
because
COD ever.
yeah, well, and I just like for me, like so many of my friends like grew up in first person shooters and that competition and stuff like that. For me, I always just played for fun. Like if we win, that's great, but I'm not like stressing about it. And that really pissed some people off because they were just like, why do you not care? You know, and then they would like trash talk me and they would come in and tell me how bad I am. I'm like, I know. But anyway, I just
I
got tired
fucking
of like
know.
having having to, like, excuse my wanting to game, and so I was like, "You know, this might be a good chance for me to just enjoy gaming again to a bigger degree than
Mhm.
just the company that I spent it with." And so, yeah, just 1 day a week, I, like, started to stream something else, and my community had to change. Like, a lot of the people I think out of, like, the founder list that I have, I think
Mhm.
I have 2 that still come into my stream right
Really?
now because I've just completely changed, you know, they followed me
Yeah.
because I was like blackout and that's what they were all about, and, yeah, no, it's my community has changed, I think, twice through because it was you know, going from Blackout to, like, Warzone and Zelda, and then now just complete variety. So, it's
Yeah.
kinda shifted 3 times, and not everybody sticks with that, and that's A-okay, but, yeah, that was definitely an interesting transition, but one that I'm very thankful to have made. So
Yeah. Uh, Something about variety though is like variety is you're not tied to one game. You can play multiple games. You can actually just have fun with your community, have fun with your mods, VIPs, stuff like that. And it helps. Like it helps build a stronger connection to your community. Not just like it helps build an audience. Like I know there's so many people that's blown up just throughout the couple years that I've known him. I don't know if you know her, but like Red Velvet,
yes, love her. She's fantastic.
she
Yeah.
she's blown up since I've known her. I've watched her since she was like a 20 viewer, like a 20 viewer streamer, and I'm over here like good on her. Like
Yeah. She's
and
awesome.
that's another variety streamer. Like you really get the sense of like getting to know your community more than just like, oh, they play this game. And that's all.
Yep.
And that I feel like being a variety streamer is it's harder to grow, but once you start growing, it's hard to stop.
Absolutely.
So it's it's very cool that you went the variety streamer route because you always have fun on your streams no matter what. Like your stream is so fun to watch. Like even when I just lurk, I know that I'm gonna have fun watching. Like when I come back and just uh turn on your stream for a bit because like you're just so uplifting and cheerful and stuff like that and I love it. And
Oh,
I
thank
know a
you.
lot of other people love it too.
I
Uh,
appreciate that. That's definitely the goal.
well, you're doing a very good job at it. Uh so let's go to this question. Who are some of the people in your content creator journey that has helped you throughout it and help you transition and thrive?
Um, so to be honest, I would say some of the people that initially convinced me to stream in the first place. They have really been like a support and have like, Kelsey is one of them. I met Kelsey in the Blackout world. If you've been in my streams at all, you know who Kelsey is.
Mhm.
But she has be I met her in Blackout, and she stuck with me, and we've, like, grown and grown. And though she's not, like, huge into content creating herself, she has been, like, such a rock for me, as I've transitioned.
Mhm.
And just knowing like, having people around that help me stay true to myself, um, and help me talk through, like, doubts of, like, change or, just really any of the insecurities that a lot of content creators do face. Having somebody that has known you for so long and seen your growth and is still there for you is so hard to find, and so that's, like, a big treasure for me.
Yeah.
And so
And that, like you said, a lot of content creators face that, especially when they start going to more variety, because it's like, are people gonna watch this? Are people gonna be mad that I'm changing games or whatever? And it's like, I was talking to like 2 podcasts ago, Azalea Plays. I don't know if you know who she is or
yeah,
not.
I do.
Um, I was talking to her and she said she was really scared to switch games. She was an Overwatch 2 content creator for a long time, or Overwatch content creator for a long time, but she started gradually switching and she realized, wait a minute, people are still here. They're not here for my gameplay, they're here for me. And that's when she started getting the confidence and getting the uh reassurance that she could switch to other games.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that's what kind of fucks a lot of people over, is those doubts and those not having the people to reassure you that, hey, you can do this. We will be here for you, but you have to push yourself to do it.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of things too is, like, people will say that, but will they show it? People will always
Exactly.
encourage because they care about you, but in reality, not everybody's gonna stick with you. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, I know that
absolutely.
from experience. I'm sure everybody does. But
100%. And not necessarily with bad intentions either. Like, I wanna
no.
make sure I say that. I have people that I love and adore that were there at the beginning and aren't there now, and they still care about me, and I'll still hear from them, but they're just not as interested in the content now that it's changed, and that's okay. They still support me as a person, but yeah, it still looks different. So
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. People come and go. Like
mhm.
I'm to the point where it's like, if you want to be around me, cool. If you don't, okay, whatever, bye. Like I've I've lost so many. Oh, sorry.
No,
I
you're fine.
I've lost so many friends and stuff like that from just me being me. Like I started playing video games online at around 15ish. I started at 10, but I was playing WoW on a private server.
Mhm.
And then I started playing WoW when I was about 14, 15, when I started getting like my own money on retail. And that's how I started
Okay.
meeting people and stuff like that. But I've slowly come to realize that like I can't stick with WoW because there's so many people on here. Like
Mm.
at one point, I was crying every single night from the people I was hanging around bullying me because I was just bad at the
I hate
video
that.
game. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, nah, I need to drop these people.
Absolutely.
But I mean, everyone has their own journey and stuff like that. And that's kind of how I've gotten to the people that I know and the people that I love today. And that's kind of why I watch people like you, people like Shy, Azalea, Red, all those people, because like y'all are more positive. Y'all are more, you're in your communities are the more positive communities of it, and I love that. I love watching
That's awesome. That makes me happy to hear.
it. uh let's let's get into the meat of this podcast. This is the Mother's Day edition. So first and foremost, it's not Mother's Day yet, but happy Mother's Day.
Thank
Uh,
you.
um, how did how did content creation and being a mother really become a balancing act for you? How did being a mother really affect being a content creator?
So that has definitely been something that has it was easier at the beginning, because when I started streaming, it was still in the midst of the pandemic. So I had like my outside job had been like hours had been cut in half. I was not getting to work outside the home much. So that kind of became the bulk of my income. So I was able to have a lot of time for it and work around motherhood as much as possible. But I also had more time with my kids as well. So I didn't have to stress so much about when I would stream or something like that, or I could do the late nights and sleep in a little bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit and not miss out on time with them. As time has gone on and the pandemic isn't a factor anymore and I'm teaching at 3 studios now, I have to be like very specific about my time in content creation, and I've had to dial back. Like, I was streaming every single day back when I first started. For probably the first almost year, I would take the
Mhm.
occasional day off, but, like, I it was all the time and never less than 5 hours for a stream. Now I have to be more realistic with it. I stream 4 days a week, and it's only when my kids are in bed. So, I don't miss out on time with them. I planned it very, very well to where I was not gonna be absent because I felt like if I took the time to stream with them around and I'm working so much outside the home that that would be really hard to juggle. So, while I may not get a ton of sleep. I still do like, I don't miss out on that time that's so treasured to me. So that's been a little bit of a journey of figuring that out as things have changed, but I feel like we're in a good spot now.
Yeah. Um, so kind of going into that, how did it impact you from like start to now? Like, I know you kind of talked about it, but um, from the start of your content creation to now, have you finally gotten the balancing act down, or are it's a still work in progress?
I think I have like, it's always gonna be a work in progress, I think, but it's definitely gotten better, and I think I've figured out ways for my kids to be just as excited about it. So, initially, I never let them on stream ever, and it was really easy for me to do because I had my little my little PS4 camera that I got, like, a month into streaming, so it was like a tiny little box. It was literally just, like, here, so even if they came into the room, I could just, like, handle that really quickly, and they would never be on camera. But the first couple times that I let them on stream, um, I would put a filter on, and it would, like, cartoon their faces, and you couldn't see them. Like, I was super paranoid about it, and I wasn't sure, but then I felt like they were not necessarily reacting very positively to me streaming, but that was again back when I would stream and they'd be around and they'd be awake and it was taking time away. Now I feel like I've figured out a way to include them, that they get really excited about it, and it's been a really fun thing to see and develop like as a family. Is every time they have a birthday, I let them have their own stream where they get to game what they want and it's all about them. Any money that's made off of the stream, they get to go use and buy themselves something. Like, I feel like now they just react a whole lot more positively to it, and I figured out how to, like, still protect them, like, I don't put them on any of my socials outside of Twitch. You'll never see me making any kind of content with them off the platform, but they do get that one stream where they still get to be involved, and I don't have to stress as much if they do come on camera, because of that. So I figured out, I think, a good balance of, like, safety, but inclusion as well.
Yeah.
So,
And that's great. That's awesome because like a lot of people like they're either a lot of streamers are either single or they're married with no kids but there's also people who, like you, started in COVID and do have
Mhm.
families and stuff like that, and a lot of those people have stopped streaming because of it, and
Absolutely.
it sucks, but it's like, I mean, they're they're putting they're putting IRL before streaming, and that's fine.
Yep.
But where this was like the bulk of your income for a while, so like you kind of couldn't stop. So
Right.
it's more of one of those things where it's like, how do I balance this enough? So, and I
100.
I'm pretty sure every parent at one point is very paranoid about that in terms of their kids being publicized on the internet. And
Yep.
it's especially nowadays where the internet is far more existent in more countries than it has been in the past
Yep.
several years. So it's definitely it's a real fear. It is a real fear. But being able to balance that inclusion with content creation is something that I feel like at some point every parent has to learn,
Yep.
because like you, and I'm single. I'm not married. I don't have kids, but I feel like every parent that does stream, who does rely on streaming for income, has to at some point be like, do I let them on stream or do I stop them from being on stream?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
that's also a very difficult choice,
It
because
is.
you never really know who's gonna be in your stream at the time.
Oh, yeah. And it's one of those things too, you have to overthink the details. Like my kids, I don't mind them coming on stream anymore, but they know they have a couple school shirts that will like have the name of their school on there, and they've almost come
Mhm.
on camera with those a couple times, and we've had to have like a serious conversation. Or they one thing that they like my oldest, he has autism. So
Mhm.
sometimes he doesn't like think through everything. He's very logical, very smart, but sometimes he
Mhm.
doesn't think about like social
Social cues.
consequences, yeah,
Yeah.
so, like, he'll go to introduce himself and then almost start to say the last name, and I'm like, "Buddy, no, 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 no,"
Ooh.
like, so that's the scary part, but I feel like we finally, like, really worked together and gotten that. It's just it has to be it's very intentional, like,
Yeah.
very intentional. You have to be very specific. They'll like, before every single stream that they're featured on, I'm like, "What are the rules?" They're like, "Don't say where we are, don't say where we go to school, don't say our names," like, they know the drill now, but
Yeah.
there did have to be a drill established, so
Yeah. And that's like, I understand a lot of people are like, if you're if you are a streamer in the US, saying your state might not be an issue, but saying like, say, a school name, that's more of an issue.
yep, yep,
Because like
absolutely.
I could say like, I'm from Kentucky, but where?
Yeah.
Not gonna say. But if I say like, I went to school at this and this school, it's like, yikes.
Yep, yep, a lot more specific.
Yeah, because like a lot of people, there are a lot of scary people on the internet, but I feel like it it definitely helps to have like a community like yours to raise your kids in, because like they're just so positive and welcoming and everything like that. So
I agree.
you're very blessed to have that.
I really am. Very grateful.
Uh how so let's go more into motherhood for a bit. How did life change once you had kids, and how did you balance the hectic times with the wholesome times?
So I I was about to say, I know you know this, but, I am the oldest of 11 children, so I have always been around kids. I've never had, like I've never been by myself ever, and I got pregnant 4 weeks after my wedding. So, like, I truly had, like, no time by myself, and I went straight from, like, being in the bottom bunk under my sisters to, like, marriage. So, like, I've never been by myself. I've always been used to, like, something happening around me. But because of that, I was like, "I got this whole motherhood thing down." Like, I've helped with my siblings, it's fine. And to be fair, I had a lot more experience than a lot of people did.
Mhm.
But then I found out I was pregnant with twins. So that
Ooh.
was a new experience. And that was a big piece of humble pie. So what I went into very confidently quickly changed. And then one of the twins has autism.
Mhm.
So it definitely was an adjustment. But it wasn't so much like I was used to this life by myself. It was more so like New new experiences in parenthood that I didn't think I would need to deal with, and, it changed my body a lot. I was super duper tiny, I was dancing a lot, so it changed a lot of that, and of course, my sleep schedule was wrecked, but I feel like I still did a lot with my time, but it definitely going from no kids to 2 was pretty daunting.
Yeah.
Something I didn't expect.
Yeah, and, like, I'm the youngest of 5, um, so I'm always teased, like, I'm the only single one that is at any of the gatherings,
Sure.
um, like, with my brothers and stuff like that, and their wives and their girlfriends and stuff, well, now fiance. But, when my oldest brother had his first kid, about a couple months after, um, my second brother got his wife pregnant.
Mhm,
And when my first sister-in-law had her kid, my oldest brother would always taunt the second oldest, and he'd be like, "You wanna come change this diaper and get some practice in?" And and then and then my second oldest brother started taunting me with that, and I give him the same line he gave to my oldest brother, like, "I'm just gonna wait until I have my own."
Always a good plan.
Like, and it's brotherly love and it's stuff and sibling love and stuff like that, but
Yep.
siblings are a lot different than your own kids, and I'm sure you know that from experience.
100%.
Um, because, like, yeah, they're both blood, they're both family, but, like, nobody's born the same. Like, for instance, one of your twins, is it both your twins or just one has autism?
Just one.
How did you figure out he had autism and the other one didn't?
So he was just significantly delayed. So they're boy-girl twins. So
Mhm.
they're not my
So
only 2
fraternal.
children, but they were the first ones. Um,
Wait, are they
and yeah,
fraternal or identical?
fraternal, yeah, yeah. So the girl, she was developing as normal, and he was just always a little more behind. But I actually have one of my brothers also, um, has that, is also special needs in that way. But it was like mirror images of each other. Like, I was like, "I feel like I'm raising my brother." Like, would handle, stress the same way, the same developmental delays, like that kinda thing. So, it was because of that, though, that I knew and I was able to go, help my son really early. Like, we got him tested at the latter end of think it was either the latter end of 2 or beginning of 3. So we were able to get him help really quickly, and that was definitely a blessing. But yeah, it's high functioning, like, he's most people are not gonna know, you know, just by meeting him, you're not gonna just look at him and think that. But he's come a long way, but there's still, like, some things that he just processes differently than others.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And do you have any other kids with that? With, like, autism or ADHD or something like that?
So not autism, but my, the 3rd one, the one that came after the twins, singularly. Only one set of twins, the other 2 came one at a time. So my middle, he did actually get by the school psychologist. That's something that we're gonna have to start in the summer, is getting him officially diagnosed, but we are 99% sure that he's got ADHD, because he's very smart, but he can't sit still to save his life. And that applies, not just at school, but with anything else. So we're in the process of trying to get him help and assistance there as well. But yeah, the my daughter and then the youngest so far seem to be fairly normal,
Mhm.
societally. Anyway,
Mm,
we all have our
everybody
own version of weird. Yeah,
everybody's normal till you get to know them.
exactly.
But, yeah, no, I've never been tested. I'm gonna be 25 in June. I've never been tested, but I'm, like, 99% sure I have ADHD with autistic tendencies,
Sure,
and the reason I say autistic tendencies is I don't pick up social cues that well,
that's fair. That's fair.
and I'm just not a I can read people really well, and I'm really good at pattern recognition and stuff of that nature, but I fidget a lot, I just talk to myself a lot, I do all that stuff that, like, ADHD people do,
Sure,
and it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't know if I have slight autism, I don't know if I have ADHD with autistic tendencies, but it's one of those things, and the other one comes
sure.
with it.
Yeah,
So, it's definitely being undiagnosed and untreated is definitely something that I have struggled with for the past couple years, but I feel like I've kind of got a grasp on it now, but
yeah,
you you helping raise your brother with autism, you kind of already knew the signs, you kind of already knew, like, what to look for in case any of your kids were autistic, so
mhm,
I'm sure that helped quite a bit too.
very much so. I grew up in a family, and that's so my brother was not helped until he was 9, and it's not at any fault of, like, my parents or anything, but that was still, like, at a time where most people hear the word autism and they have
There's
a
certain
certain idea of what that looks
stereotypes.
like. Yeah, yeah,
Stereotypes.
yeah, yeah. So, and it didn't look like that. So, my parents just didn't know. They didn't have the knowledge there. Um, so yeah, it definitely, if my parents hadn't been through that process with my brother, I probably would have also struggled in trying to
Mhm.
figure out what was going on. So I'm definitely grateful that I was able to learn, because I had no idea. I don't want to say like ignorant, because it wasn't that I was ignoring like things, but I just had no idea. I was completely in the dark about how a lot of mental health things can vary and
Yeah.
look like. So yeah.
And, you're you're 28, right?
Oh, I
Or
wish. That's really sweet. No, I'm 32. Yeah.
you're 32. I knew you were, like,
Yes.
late 20s, early 30s, but I
Yeah.
didn't know exactly
You're not too
where,
far
so,
off. Yeah. But hey, I mean, we can say I'm
um
28. You can edit that part out.
Yeah, sure, let's go with that. So you're 28 with 4 kids out of that No, but
Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah,
um,
I had all 4 by 26. Yeah, yeah.
jeez. You had all 4
Seems pretty wild.
by You had 3
Yeah.
of them by the time I'm at where I am in life, and I'm still living with my mom.
Yes,
But
definitely went fast. It went fast.
yeah, that yeah. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how I was with my niece. My oldest niece. Her name is her name starts with S. Let's just go
Mhm.
with that.
Yeah.
She's
Sounds
about
good.
He's going on 5 in August, 4 or 5 in August.
Oh,
And when she was younger, when she was like 1, 2, um, which my name's Cody. So um she she never talked to any of us. She never really talked to anybody. She was kind of silent, but she was really freaking smart. Like,
yeah,
I'm talking, like, give her a puzzle, give her one of those, like, larger baby puzzles, and she has that done within, like, 10 seconds.
yeah,
And it's one of those things where it's like, she's really freaking smart. She understands a lot of patterns, but she's just very socially unaccepting,
sure.
where she didn't really like a lot of social interaction at the beginning.
Mhm.
But, one time we were over at my grandmother's house and she was sitting on one of the couches and I'm tall. I'm about 6'6". And I leaned over the couch and I'm like, hey, hey. Well, oh well,
Good.
I'll edit
Yeah.
that out. I'm like,
Sounds good.
hey. I'm like, hey, how you doing? And she looked up and she like, Uncle Coco? That's the
Aw.
she didn't say anybody's name before that. She just said dada and mom. Like dada and mama.
Aw.
And so, once she said that, I'm like, "Great, now I'm Uncle Coco. Great."
That's cute.
But, I've quickly turned to Uncle Buddy.
Oh, that's a good one too.
But yeah, no, she's a very smart kid, but I have a feeling she has at least she's high functioning autistic,
Mhm.
and, like, I think everybody in the family knows besides, like, my grandmother
Sure.
because, like, I mean, growing up when we were growing up, like, in the millennial age and, like, early 2000s and stuff like that, like, late 90s, early 2000s, like, nobody really knew any of that stuff. Like, you just thought, like, like, the masses didn't know what depression was. They didn't know what ADHD was. They didn't know, like, what any of that was.
Mhm.
And it only
Yep.
came out in, like, 2010, 2011, where people were more open about it. People were like and doctors were more accepting of like giving medication to those people and stuff like that
Yep.
that weren't like struggling heavily.
Sure.
And so like I feel like raising kids from like our generation from like early to late 90s to late 2000s being a kid in that era will possibly help us be better parents because we've been
Yeah,
through a lot of that stuff and we've learned a lot of that stuff. And we've learned like
absolutely.
what to look for in certain scenarios. So
Yeah.
like ADHD, for example, like we know how to handle it because 90% of us freaking have it. Like,
It is quite common.
and it's like it's one of those things where I'm like, I wonder what I'll be like as a father whenever that time comes because I'm not trying to rush that shit. I am not. I have
Definitely
a
wouldn't recommend it.
I have a I have a dog that I have to take care of and I can't even take care of her right now. I'd rather not. But suffering from like the stuff I've suffered from like depression, untreated ADHD, slight autism, like stuff like that, like I wonder if that will help me in the long run rather than hurt me like it has in the
Sure.
past.
Yeah.
And just hearing like your side of it, I feel like it would to a certain extent.
Oh, yeah,
So that
100%.
that helps. That
Yeah,
kind of
good.
eases me a bit.
Absolutely.
uh yeah. One of my chatters said, I feel like with ADHD being so common nowadays, the schools aren't challenging us enough.
It could be. I feel like a lot of it I mean, I know this is, like, off topic, so I won't delve into it
No,
too
don't worry
much.
about it.
Uh, but, I feel like a lot of it too is, like, ever since the pandemic, we have a much shorter attention span because we're now used to, like,
Yes.
a lot of short form content, and we're not used
Mhm.
to, like, watching or, paying close attention to something for an extended period of time either. So I feel like now it's just, like, heightened our inability to
Mhm.
have even for those who don't have ADHD, I feel like it's harder to keep our attention at this point. That's what I've seen as a dance teacher as
Yeah.
well. The classroom
Yeah.
dynamic has definitely shown that too. So,
Yeah. And that's also kind of something, how did you how did you balance being a dance teacher with being a mother?
um, so this is a new year for me because I've always just taught I taught at 2 studios when I lived up in Virginia, when the kids were little, but we also had a family up there, so the family would help with my kids,
Mhm.
for that, but down here, we don't have anybody. So, it's been a new year of trying to figure that out, but 2 of my own kids dance now. So me teaching actually helps pay for that. So it kind of works because on Mondays, I take all 4 kids with me to the studio. They're there with me for 5.5 hours. Like, it's
Jeez.
wild. Mondays are my long day for sure. Um, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm at a different studio, and Wednesdays, I just take my daughter. So I'm figuring things out, but I'm very grateful that I've not, like, pushed them into dance. The 2 that do dance, they genuinely enjoy it. That has made it easier to, like, have those extracurriculars because it would be hard. Like, my oldest tried football this past year. He did not enjoy it, but he committed to it, so we made
At
sure it
least you
stayed.
tried.
Yeah, he did try. But, that was hard trying to juggle teaching 4 nights a week and still getting him elsewhere. That was
Mhm.
very difficult. Um, so right now, it's working out really well because 2 of them really enjoy dancing.
And
So,
are they both your daughters that enjoy dancing?
so I have one my daughter does enjoy dancing, and then my youngest boy, he is competing this year, and he's
That's
just
awesome.
he's adoring it. It's the cutest thing. So they have auditions coming up here soon, for next year's company, and he's apparently all in to do it again. So
That's incredible.
it's really sweet.
So, um, I'm guessing the dance studios open, like, after school and stuff like that?
Yes, yeah, all of them are after school. There's no, daytime until, like, 4. So it works out well for me, and that's why I stream in the morning is because I do that when my
Mhm.
kids are at school, and then once kids are out of school, I'm at the studio for the rest of the night, so
Yeah. But, yeah, that's kinda cool because I've never really I mean, I was a part of, like, extracurriculars and stuff like that, but I was the only thing that I was ever, like, part of that my mom was a part of was she would sub on occasion.
sure.
So, like, I'd just go to the class where she was teaching and then we'd leave.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's about it. Like, if she wasn't subbing at my school, I'd just ride the bus home, like, but she stopped subbing when I got into middle school, so, I would either get picked up by my brother, next to the school in his Camaro, or I'd just ride the bus home. Like,
Yep, yep.
pretty much, like, that's all I did. And, it was interesting because, like, in high school is when I really started doing, like, extracurriculars, like, I got on the bowling team. I
Okay,
did,
nice.
strategic gaming club, which is basically just nerd club.
Right.
Um, it was it was it was Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Bakugan, Vanguard,
Oh, yeah,
Pokemon, D&D, all that jazz. So it was
absolutely.
basically just nerd club. Um, but I did both of those things, and then I did chess club for a few years. So I was just a solid nerd.
Nice, that's awesome, though. Exercise the
But
brain.
but yeah, nah, so doing that, was interesting because like I've done like sports before, like I did football, I did baseball, stuff like that, but I've never truly been like the after school type of person
Sure.
until like high school. So having that extracurricular, especially at such a young age, I feel like definitely will improve, like does and has improved a lot of like kids teaching because it's much more than just school home, school home, school
Yeah,
home. So
absolutely.
doing
Absolutely.
doing that with your kids is kind of cool, especially since
I'm
two
glad
of
that they love
them
it.
especially since two of them love what you teach.
Yeah, it's so I will say I'm not their teacher, but they do
Yeah.
go to the same studio. Yeah, one of them, my third one, the one that's we're gonna be helping out hopefully with ADHD soon.
Mhm.
He takes hip hop casually there. So my other 2 compete, but he just takes, like, 1 class a week because I told him he had to do something physical this year. So that's what he chose to do. So he doesn't love it, but, like, that was the extracurricular that he chose. I'm making them do something, but, yeah, the other 2 are just all in. So that's been fun to see.
Yeah. I'm I mean, I feel like dance in a way could help with ADHD since it is a lot of patterns and it's a lot
Yep,
of pattern recognition and a lot of like beat like beat rhythms and stuff like that.
yep.
So I feel like it could actually help him in the long run.
Yeah, well, and he chose that over, like, a sport and stuff like that, and I
Yeah.
love him. He's very sensitive. So, I don't think he would do well in a contact sport. So, I gave that option, but he did not like that,
Do you,
so I was
do you
like,
want
"This
to
is
play
what we're doing then."
football? Mom, I break my bones when I go out the door. I don't think football's a good idea.
He would not do well.
No, like yeah, I tried football, but I couldn't. Um, I tried PB football when I was in elementary school, and I just couldn't. Baseball, I did little league and stuff like that. That was fun, but
Yeah.
bowling is where I ended up in high school. So that was interesting because being a 6'4" giant bending over to roll a ball down a lane was probably not the best for my back that I have issues with now.
Sure, sure.
But say la vie, I guess. Like, but yeah, no, it was having those extracurriculars, especially as a young age, will I feel like will definitely help improve like kids' choices and kids' like lives in general.
I agree, I agree.
So let's get back to on topic a bit.
Sounds good.
Um, so you said you do like birthday streams with them every year. How did that come along?
They just they really wanted to be involved, and they love gaming like I do. Well, my daughter not as much. She's more standard.
Ooh.
Like, she'll enjoy, like, Sims. That's what she did for her last one, is, like, she just, like, built a house playing The Sims. Like, that's her thing, or Animal Crossing. She's more of that girl right now. I'm working on it. No, I'm kidding. She can
I'm
enjoy what
working
she wants
on
to
making her
enjoy.
kill people.
But but, yeah, no, they've just really enjoyed, like it comes down to, like, that I hate to say it, but it comes down to attention, it really does. Like, there's that intentionality of focusing on them and making them feel special is just huge for them, and if putting them on stream is a way that can help them feel special for their birthday, then I love that I get to do that, and it's really fun for them too because they can share, like, their birthday lists, the things that they want and stuff like that, but if they, are gifted that money through stream, and then they can go do what they wanna do, like, they really enjoy that as well. It's not just, "Ooh, let's see what somebody will get me," it'll be, "What can I get myself now that I've,
Yeah,
like, earned this?" You know? It's really
yeah,
cute.
and that's actually really cool. I don't think I've ever been a part of one of their streams before, but
Yeah, my middle, my little, sensitive one. He's got his birthday next month, so he's already been planning
I
on what he's gonna do there. So,
Oh, really?
he's been talking about it for, like, 2 months now.
Oh, really? That's
They really look
that's
forward to it.
impressive. That's impressive planning. He's like, "Mom, I wanna do this, this."
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. It I feel like if you're a gamer, getting your kids into games is just kind of how you spend time with them at this point.
Yep. Yeah, well, it's
Like
yeah, it's a big factor. They love
mhm.
it.
My, one of my friends, I play Overwatch with him a lot. Um, he actually has, like, I think a 2-year-old, 2 or 3-year-old, somewhere in there. Um, and he was he was playing Overwatch with me one day, and he went quiet. He, like, muted. And usually that means he's either talking to someone, talking to his girlfriend, or messing with his kid. So come to
Yep.
find out, like 30 minutes later, his kid was just watching him play video games. His kid was just in his lap watching him play like a really
Yep.
fast character in Overwatch, which Overwatch in and of itself is just a really flashy game. Like
Sure.
there's so many colors
Lots to
and
look at.
so
Yeah.
yeah, there's so many colors and lots to look at and stuff like that. And he was playing one of the fastest characters in the game, which he was playing Genji. I don't know if you know
Okay.
who that is.
I do, I do.
Yeah. No, he was playing Genji and he was just running the lobby because he was like in a lower lobby and he's like Grandmaster. He's just a really good freaking player.
Yeah.
But she was just sitting in his lap watching him. Like at one point, he actually unmuted and like started doing call outs again. And I'm like, hey, you
Yeah.
done? And like 2 minutes later, he was like, oh yeah, no, my daughter was in my lap. She was just watching me play video games. And I'm like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Because like not everybody has like that shroud not everybody has that shroud family. Well, not everybody used to have that shroud family where it's like you grew up playing video games with your parents.
Right.
You grew up playing video games like on PC and stuff like that. Like you grew up doing all that stuff. Like I grew up playing video games casually. Like
Yeah,
I grew up in the time where it was like it wasn't frowned upon to play video games in your free time, but it was something only kids did.
sure, sure.
And it wasn't something that you could really do as a profession. A lot of people didn't understand that you could do it as a
Right.
profession just yet. And so I grew up with like going outside and playing with sticks and playing like
Yep.
war with imaginary like using sticks as imaginary guns and swords and stuff. Like I grew up with
Right,
that. I grew
right.
up with that. And like I would come in on occasion and play video games like from our
Yep.
old gen because again, youngest of five, we didn't have the most money, so we
Sure,
always had
sure.
hand-me-down consoles. I'm sure
Yep.
you understand that being the oldest of 11. Mhm. But like we always had the hand-me-down consoles, which I'm not complaining because like it wasn't until I was like 14 or 15 where I started seeing like the toxic side of gaming.
Sure.
But it was really eye-opening for me once I started gaming with other people, and especially
Yeah,
when I started finding the people who I can actually game with and have fun with. That's when I
yeah.
really that's when I really like found out what gaming can actually do. What gaming can really be for, what it's really about.
Yep.
And I've made friends, I've lost friends. It's just part of life.
Mhm.
But you'll always you'll always remember the times, maybe not the good times, maybe the bad times, but you'll always remember the times where it's like, "Oh yeah, that was really cool," or "That clip was really
Right.
nice," or somewhere like that. And I feel like that's where content creation really comes into play. Is like you have that community to share your clips with, to share ideals with and stuff like that. And like a lot of streamers don't like political talk, don't like
Yeah.
religious talk, because that can bring toxicity into the environment.
Yep.
And so
Does.
I don't know. It Content creation isn't just all about like just playing video games and having fun. It's really it's a balancing act in and of itself. And
Sure.
being a mother or being a father while also doing that balancing act has to be incredibly tough.
It is. It is. It's one of those things where I've come to the realization now, especially as like, my hours streaming have dipped down. I realize that if I with me working as much as I am now, if I wasn't streaming and that wasn't like a viable source of income, I wouldn't be gaming at all. Like,
Mhm.
streaming is the only reason why I game now, and that's not how it started because never started it for money, like, it was always just, like, a fun thing to do with my time, but that's when I had a lot more of time. Now I don't, and I have to be very intentional with it, because my family, does come first. So it is, like, kind of a little heart-wrenching, though, because I'm like, "Man, if I ever had to stop streaming, my PC would just accumulate dust." Like, it's crazy to think about, but that's the reality because that's when you have kids, that's your responsibility now. You gotta take care of them, so
Yeah.
if I have to work elsewhere to make sure that they're taken care of and not game, then heck yes, that's what I gotta do. What I need to
Yeah.
do. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, life is life. Like shit comes at you and you either have to deal with it when it hits you or deal with it when it's already taken its course. But streaming is streaming and just content creation is just a full-time job. So
Yeah. It is.
having a full-time job on top of a full-time job on top of a full-time job is kind of incredible.
Definitely a balancing act. Not always a successful one, but
I mean, you do pretty
best
good with
attempts
it.
always. Thank you.
You do pretty good at it at least.
I do give it my most sincere efforts for sure.
You've kind of already talked about this, but let's get to the, I guess, last question. Um, what made you keep making content, and why do you strive to do it, and why do you strive to keep doing it?
Yeah. No, that's a question that's actually been recently. Once a month I have a mod night where I have a
Mm,
meeting with my mod team and then we game together. That was actually like a big topic of conversation this past mod night. Um, because Twitch has like dipped for me a lot, substantially to where I am having to come to the thought of I may not, I may have to look for a different source of income if things don't improve. And that's not at all like talking like for me, viewership wise,
right.
we're at a fantastic point and I'm very grateful. The hard part about content creation is like you could stream for 5 hours and you could make like $200 or you could stream for 6 hours and make 10. Like, there's no way to know
It's
how
not
that's gonna
consistent.
go. It's not consistent, it's unpredictable, and that is scary as a parent. Um, so I did just have, like, a conversation with my mod team on, like, what the future could look like for me, and of course, I don't want that to be the case, but, that is something that I'm having to, like, think about and consider because it is hard, um so my goal is to be able to continue it because it does like, one of the big things it offers my family is flexibility, because I am
Mhm.
blessed with an amazing community that, like, they're understanding when my life is crazy, and, like, if my kids have something to do at school, like, I just had an IEP meeting for, the one who's having issues in school, and I took off stream that morning because I was like, I have to be there," and everybody's so understanding, and that's gonna be increasingly difficult if I do have to stop streaming and get an outside job, like, that flexibility for my family will be gone. It'll be much harder to navigate, um, so, like, that's been, like, such a blessing that I didn't expect out of content creation that I'm so very grateful for, and that's one thing that that's one reason one of many that I'm, like, continue to fight for wanting to do something like this because of all the things it offers my family. It not only offers me joy and lets me, ex you know, experience creativity and continue that, and it feels like my social cup. I love people. But it also is just such a blessing for my family in so many ways. So yeah, that's something that's actually been a recent topic of conversation. So
Yeah, I think everybody at some point, especially like content creators who are bigger, um, have to really think about that is like what is gonna happen.
mhm.
Like there's people who are like in the thousands of viewers who are like, I didn't even realize I would be here. And then there's
Yep.
people who are in like the hundreds of viewers who are like, this is my career now. What do I do with it?
Mhm.
And it's just one of those things where it's like, you never know where it's going to go, but it's always so unpredictable that like it keeps you on your toes and not in the good way.
Right. Right.
And so like you can't what I don't think a lot of people understand, especially like the older generation, like people who are like not millennials but like the one over them,
Mhm.
like the one over pretty much our generation, even though I'm
Yeah,
technically a Gen Z.
sure.
um they don't understand that like streaming, like if you want to be a content creator, if you want to be a streamer, that's all fine and good, but they don't understand that it's such a risk
Mhm.
because like it's never consistent income.
Yep.
Like it's always, you're always looking for that next viral clip. You're always looking for that next like TikTok trend. You're always looking to do something to bring in more people, to bring in that audience, to bring in that income, to help be consistent. And not everybody all the time can help with that. And you have an
Yep.
amazing community. Like I've been in so many streams where it's like I'm a check on Ariel. Like I'd have you pulled up or something. I'm gonna check on Ariel, and I've seen like 3 hype trains in like a day before, and it's like holy crap. But
Yep.
then there's some days where it's like people are going through a hard time or something
Oh,
like
yeah,
that, and it's like they
100%.
can't they can't gift you that extra income.
Mhm.
And it's one of those things like there's never a 5 or 10 year plan when it comes to content creation. Like, yeah, I want to make content. I always want to make content. It's what I
Yeah.
love doing. Like gaming and hanging out with friends is what I love doing. But the content aspect of it is so unpredictable. It's
Yep.
so inconsistent that I'm not gonna get on stream one day and be like, okay, I need to make $100 today. I need to make
Right.
$100 in 5 hours.
Yep.
Like it's not a hourly job. It's not an
Right.
hourly wage. Like say for instance a Walmart job is or Dollar General job or something like that. It's so unpredictable, so inconsistent. Like yeah, you can always say like I want to keep making content.
Mhm.
What's your plans for the next 5 years? Content creation. Do you know how fruitful that's going to be? Absolutely not.
Right.
And
Yep.
I feel like that's something a lot of people kind of miss when it comes to content creation is like the financial aspect is never consistent.
Yeah.
Like some months you'll get like thousands a week. Some months you'll get like $10 in a month.
Yep.
And it's never like, and I'm not saying you get like thousands a week. I'm just saying, like in general,
Oh, yeah.
people
Yeah, no,
like
I know what you mean.
like for instance, Tim the Tatman gets like $500 donations every single time he streams, and I'm like, bro, like he's
You know.
him, his wife, and his kid are living good.
Yeah.
But then there's the smaller streamers who are like, oh sweet, I got like $500 this month
Yep,
in total.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think that comes down to just, like, the fact that you have to be in content creation because you enjoy it, because
Hmm.
it is so unpredictable, and that's one thing that, like, I do hate that has shifted from, like, the beginning, because when I first started streaming, I was like, "Gosh, if I could just, like if this could give me, like, an extra 20 bucks a month toward groceries, like, can you imagine? That'd be epic." Like, that's what that was my mindset when I started, and that hasn't shifted when it comes to, like, my gratitude of things. Like, I always want people to realize when I do talk about money that it's never like a like, me not being grateful for where I'm at, because I know where I'm at is such a privilege, and I don't take that for granted whatsoever. But the reality is when I am working 3 other jobs and I am a mom, um, like, my time has to be well spent, and I hate having content creation be about money, because it's not about money for me, but right now it's a time thing.
Yeah.
And naturally, that is gonna it's one of those time is money things, and I never want it to seem like, I just don't want it to seem like it's negative, or that I take things for granted, or I'm not grateful for where I'm at, is what I guess I'm trying to get at. Is it's hard, but I'm not like it's not complaining either. That's just kind of the reality of things.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And there's so many trends and so many like things that you could easily do for money. Like, I'm sorry, you're a very beautiful woman.
Thank you.
And there's a lot of other beautiful women on Twitch and Kick and YouTube and TikTok and stuff like that. And I've seen some cringy ass trends. And you never succumb to that. You're always yourself. And that's kind of why I keep watching you. I keep following you because like you're never you're never succumbing to the trends. You're just being you. And that's I think why a lot of people like you and a lot of people still watch you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
But like you said too, like it is very inconsistent. It's like you start it for fun,
Mhm.
but how many years down the line, like 2 3 years down the line,
Yeah.
it pretty much became like a solid income source.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like, now what do I do?
Yeah, it blew up. I never had honestly, the last 8 months have been the lowest for me, like, from the beginning. My
Hmm.
first month was wild because I hit, what, 450 followers, but I had 900
Jeez.
subs. Like
Jeez.
like, it when I tell you it blew up, and that was, like, with no camera or anything. So when I tell you I didn't expect this, I truly didn't expect this. So it's definitely been, like, a wild ride, and I've never it immediately became a source of income for me,
Hmm.
which I know is
That's incredibly
so
lucky.
rare to hear, yeah. So I definitely don't take it for granted, but because now I've invested so much into it to where it is a career, I do have to treat it as such, with
Hmm.
my time. So,
Yeah. You
yeah.
definitely have to, like you said, it's one of those time is money. And if you're putting time and effort into it and not making that money, there's kind of that pause of like, there's a crossroads. Where do I go?
Mhm. Yep, I gotta take care of my family no matter what that
Yeah.
looks like. So,
And I'm sure everybody understands that to a degree, especially your following, because
yes,
it's your community is amazing people.
they're fantastic. Very, very fortunate.
Yeah. But I appreciate you coming on to the podcast. You are
Thank you for
very
having
lovely
me.
to talk to. Uh, you did great. If you're
Thank
not
you.
already following her, her name is h2oluvin on Twitch, on TikTok, on you. Do you do YouTube? I don't know if you do YouTube.
I have one, it's been a really, really long time, but in case I ever do boot it up, would
Uh,
appreciate any support. It's just been a long time.
H2oluvin on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok. She does a lot of fun streams. She loves Zelda. She loves cosplaying. She does all sorts of things. Um, but thank you again for coming on. It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you for
It,
having me. I
and again,
appreciate
happy
it.
Mother's Day.
Thank you.
And I will talk to y'all later.
All
Bye.
right, have fun.